This is the second video for the development of sociology, and we will go on here to talk about Karl Marx. He's a little bit out of order. He was of the same era as Herbert Spencer, alive 1818 to 1883. Um, Marx's main focus was on conflict and competition. He believed that every society was marked by social conflict. Marx focused much of his work on capitalism and class conflict, and much of what we talk about in terms of Marx today is on inequality. He believed that inequality is based on economic systems that benefit some at the expense of others. Um, So we've been talking about the social order. Marx saw the social order quite a bit differently than the functionalists that we talked about before, where the functionalists believed that the social order was produced by social consensus among those in a society. Marx disagreed strongly with this idea and believed that a diverse group of people cannot have the same set of morals. His perspective assumed that different segments of society will have different value systems and norms. According to Marx's thought, these different segments of society are in constant struggle over control of society. The groups which win the struggle exercise their power in various ways, including um, uh, control over the economic system, the criminal justice system, and so on. When we look at Karl Marx's theories, we are always asking who is benefiting from this particular social arrangement. In another video, you heard about conflict theory, and conflict theory or conflict perspective is based on the work of Karl Marx. The next person that we are talking about today is Max Weber. He came quite a bit after the others that we've been talking about. He was born in 1864 and died in 1920. He's interesting for us in particular because he traveled to the United States and did much of his research based on what he saw in the United States. He was heavily influenced by Marx, but and was interested in capitalism, but he believed that ideas and values of a society were just as important as economics, where Marx really did focus on the economics of a society. Weber was interested in social thought as it pertained to historical change. He didn't think there was an overriding type of human thought or that there were general laws of development that societies followed. He believed societies develop according to their historical context. Weber was unlike Marx in that he was very interested in applied sociology. He wasn't interested in grand theories for their own sake. He felt that they should be applied to the social problems of the times in order to understand them so they may affect social change. One of the things Weber is famous for is the idea of Verstehen. Sorry. Grabbing my notes here. So he asked subjects, research subjects, to look inward for answers, and that's what Verstehen is all about. He believed that sociologists should put themselves in other people's shoes if they truly wish to grasp the meaning of events and interactions for the people who live them. And so he asked research subjects to look inward, and he also believed that the researchers themselves should look inward. Weber was very well known for his theorizing on bureaucracy, which we don't have time to get into today, but also on his theory of rationality. Weber, oh, let me get my slide here. Uh, Weber theorized that there were two types of rationality: formal rationality and value rationality. Value rationality is something like critical thinking, or our ability to take actions towards goals based upon our own critical thought and how we think the best way to reach that goal is. Value rationality takes into account our own and society's values and also the ultimate goals we hope to achieve for society while taking our steps towards personal goals. We engage in problem solving within a set of values. Formal rationality is simple means end calculation. We take rational steps towards goals that are based on past experience, observation, logic, science, or rules. We engage in problem solving that is based on specialized technical thinking. Human emotions, morals, traditions, and value systems are lost in our decision making under formal rationality. Modernity, including the establishment and formation of bureaucracies, promotes formal rationality, and it does so at the expense of value rationality or critical thought. As bureaucracies become more prevalent, and in our case, as they come to dominate modern society, formal rationality as a mode of thought becomes the dominant way of thinking about problem solving and meeting goals. It becomes part of us and dominates our thought process. So up to now, we've been talking about European sociologists, but sociology came to America early in the 19th century, and early American sociology became prominent at the University of Chicago. And I've listed some of the Chicago thinkers here. The Chicago School focused on empirical research with the belief that people's behaviors and personalities are shaped by their social and physical environments. And actually, I can see I just made a mistake in what I said. So on this slide, it says this is a list of Chicago thinkers, but rather this is a list of American sociologists. We only have time to talk about one American sociologist today, and I wanted to talk about W.E.B. Du Bois. He was alive at the same time as Weber. He lived from 1868 to 1963. He was the first African American to receive a PhD from Harvard. He was also the founder of the nation's second sociology department, which was at Atlanta University. He was a very productive sociologist who focused on racial issues. He, like Weber, wanted to use his sociology to improve society, and so he helped to create the NAACP, and he was the editor of the magazine of the NAACPs, which was called Crisis. And actually, I have a picture of him here. This is him at the office of Crisis magazine. You can see him standing up in the background there by the door. So I only have time to talk about one of Du Bois's theories or concepts, and this is the theory of double consciousness. He was really focusing on the social and psychological experiences of African Americans who who he believed saw through the lens of both African American and Caucasian American experience. So he called this double consciousness. He believed that African Americans of his time saw themselves through not only their own experience as African Americans, but also through the disapproval and scorn of Caucasian Americans. And so he called this double consciousness, that African Americans had two ways of seeing themselves: simply as they were with other African Americans at the time, and also through the lens of and their experience with the scorn and disapproval of Caucasian Americans of the time period. All right, so this ends our portion on the development of sociology. It's very short. Sometimes I teach whole classes on this, but we only have these brief minutes to talk about it, 25 minutes. But hopefully this will give you a head start on your assignment and to help you study for your midterm exam.